Black men blame black women for not having femininity, yet they weren't there to give us that femininity in the first place. Jumbo everyone, welcome back, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about Dr. Umar and his recent podcast that he was on and some of the points that he made. We gotta give the man credit where credit is due. So the main reason why I wanted to make this video was just because I saw these clips on TikTok and then I went and I actually watched majority of the full podcast in its whole entirety, and I'm just going to be going through a couple of points that they spoke on within the video that I want to talk about. If I'm looking this way, it's because I have my computer right here and I'm reading off of it. So let's get started. The video is kind of going to be broken up into two different parts. The first part is going to be talking about systemic racism, and then the second part is going to be talking about gender wars. Also throughout this video, I am going to be including some clips from the podcast. I do not own any rights. I do think it is important to show the tone in which Dr. Umar is saying these things, because he does have a point for a lot of the things that he says. I don't necessarily agree with him on most of the things, which is what an opinion is, but he does have a good point when it comes to a lot of the things that they were talking about within this video. If you don't know who Dr. Umar is, he's a Pan-African nationalist, and he really just speaks about the black community and the things that black people should be doing as a community in order to grow. That's kind of a short, sweet summary on who Dr. Umar is. If you know who he is, he can be controversial at times. My cup of tea, especially when it comes to the black community. The reason why he's so controversial is because he's right most of the time, and he backs it up with facts. At least if someone is saying facts and they back it up with facts, I'ma believe him. I got no other chance to. So one of the first points in the video that Dr. Umar talked about was the individualist mindset within the black community.
This is how they get us. They'll promote a few blacks. Everybody else struggling. Everybody else in poverty. Everybody else coming out of prison. But they'll promote a few blacks, and because a few blacks made it, they're automatically supposed to mean that we are doing better. No other group you could push that on, because every other group is based on collective group progress. Right. Black people, we are totally rooted in selfishness and meism. In order for racism to succeed, some blacks must be successful. Why do you need successful black people if you want to destroy our black people? Because in order to brainwash the other ones into believing that your failure is not due to systemic discrimination, it's due to the fact that you're not intelligent enough or you're not working hard enough. Do you see that? The black millionaire and billionaire class is one of white supremacy's greatest arguments to defend itself against accusations of racism. Because Oprah Winfrey is not going to indict the system. LeBron James is not going to indict the system. You understand me? Tyler Perry is not going to indict the system, because they made their money through the system. They know how unfair the game really is. The problem is they can't top it off with a cherry on top. And the cherry on top is to look the camera in the eye and say, I made it, but most of my people will never will, because the system is not designed for black people to succeed.
And I think that's very important to talk about, because even today I was talking with my therapist about trauma bonds and what trauma bonds necessarily are and what that really means, because I feel like that word is just thrown around a lot. So the meaning kind of gets lost in translation. What I was really asking her was, what is a trauma bond and what does it take to have a trauma bond with someone? And basically all she was saying was that trauma bonding is when you and another person bond over a shared experience or shared trauma and will continue to just keep perpetuating the same things that happen within those traumas and not really growing together to not be those people in a way. If you pick up what I'm putting down, I'm basically trying to say is that the black community is trauma bonded, and because we are trauma bonded, that has stopped us from growing as a community. Because one of the things that Dr. Umar was talking about, especially within the video, was saying, if you look at it from an integrationist, from their perspective, we've done so much since slavery. There have been so many progressive movements since slavery, right? But according to Dr. Umar, we as black people are in the exact same spot as we were when slavery was going on. It's just a more glamorized version now.
That's your question, because
in other words, if you walk out here right now and a police officer pulls you over and takes your life, God forbid, unjustifiably, how was that any better than you being on the plantation picking cotton and the overseer just decides to get off his horse and blow your damn brains out? 157 years apart. Was there any difference in the power dynamic?
Hell no.
Nothing at all.
You're right.
We are exactly where we were.
There's no ramifications.
Power. Power is the measuring stick, y'all. Not education, not income, not billionaires and millionaires. How many black people on TV, Obamas and Kamalas? That's irrelevant. How much power do we have to force white people to leave us the hell alone? And do we have any more now than we had in 1865?
So in this video, he was talking about how before the 13th Amendment was signed, we were slaves of our own. Individual people owned us. Individual people had the right to be able to tell us what to do, when to do it, how to do it. After the 13th Amendment was passed, when slavery was quote unquote abolished, and I say that very lightly because slavery was never abolished, it was just changed in a different way. And my personal opinion is that the prison system is another form of slavery, because if you look at mass incarceration in the 70s and everything leading up to it, yeah. So basically what he was saying was that after the 13th Amendment, we were all slaves of the state, and that we didn't have any identity basically because of how now after the 13th Amendment, we were all considered citizens. What are you going to do with citizens that you can't deport?
And this is why they hate blacks in America so much, the white power structure. We're the only non-white people in the country who cannot be sent home. Right. You cannot be deported. Slavery destroyed your cultural, psychological, and intellectual connection to your ancestral homeland. If the Ghanaian get on your nerve, he go back to Ghana. If the Puerto Rican gets on your nerves, he go back to Puerto Rico. If the Afro-Cuban gets on your nerves, he or she go back to Cuba. If the Chinese get on your nerves, send them back to China. If the East Indian gets on your nerves, send them back to India. If the Arab gets on your nerve, send them back to one of the Middle Eastern states. But when American Africans get on your nerves, where do you deport us to? Most American Africans are so brainwashed, they think they're American. So you cannot deport them because this is what they identify with most. So in other words, the white man created his own problem, which makes it almost impossible to deport us. So the only way to get rid of us is a systemic system of racial genocide, and that's what they're using.
That you don't want to be here anymore. You're going to oppress them. So speaking back onto the how much have we really progressed as a community, it really just makes me think of being complacent with a lot of things going on in the world. A lot of the times, Black people are just shown their traumas over and over and over again in the media. This person has died because of police brutality. This thing has happened because of whatever. Hate crimes, mass shootings. Yet the government doesn't do anything about it. We, as Black people, and I will be the first to say this, even if it's controversial, we still don't have any rights as much as if we were slaves. Yeah, we got the Civil Rights Movement. Yeah, we got the Fair Housing Act. But how much did that take? How many years of oppression and slavery and discrimination and Jim Crow did it take? 1968. My dad was born in 1966. So you're meaning to tell me that my dad, who was born in 1966, didn't have rights for 2 years because of the system in which we live in, and that we continue to perpetuate? Because that makes so much fucking sense. I feel like another really big issue a lot of the Black community don't want to face is the way in which the government has set us up against each other, which is why there is so much divide within the Black community. The Black community views Africans as a whole separate entity, like of a community, instead of like the Black community. So it's like even Black people are pinned up against other Black people, even if they're African American, whatever, it doesn't matter. We are consistently pinned up against each other, which is all planned. It's all planned. COINTELPRO was started and funded by FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, and it was basically like an undercover mission to go into different communities, see how they acted, what their plans were when it came to rising up as a community. But because white supremacy was so blatant within the US, of course any form of any people of color raising up and knowing their rights and knowing the power that they hold will be taken down. Let's be honest.
I would not be surprised if we learned 20, 30 years from now that the domestic gender war was inspired by the FBI, just as the FBI gave birth to COINTELPRO back in the 70s and 60s to disrupt and destroy the credibility and success of Black liberation movements. I could very well see where COINTELPRO or something similar to it could have also been invented to turn the Black woman against the Black man and the Black man against the Black woman. The family is an institution, no different than SNCC, no different than CORE, no different than the Panthers, no different than the Garvey movement, no different than the Freedom Riders. But I really do believe that at some point we're going to find out that the U.S. government had a hand in the gender wars and the promotion of it, because I don't think it's a coincidence that this Black male versus Black female gender war is being initiated at the very same time that the U.S. government is pushing transgenderism on elementary Black public school little children.
Y'all saw for the Black Panthers, Fred Hampton, William O'Neill. We all saw that go down, okay? That was nothing new. I think another point that's really interesting that Dr. Umar brought up, it's not in this interview, but it's in another interview, was him saying back then, Black Panthers, when you would look up Black Panther, it would be the Black Panther Party specifically. But now, because of the media and because of the different things that they push, when you look up Black Panther, the movie pops up. So it's just like, you know, very interesting in which the same country who doesn't want to teach about critical race theory also has a multi-billion-dollar movie called Black Panther, but not actually representing what the Panthers meant for the Black community back then. So then we can just not really know the history of the Black Panther Party, and whenever Black Panther now, to us, we think of the movie instead of the people who fought for our fucking rights. Another thing that I really enjoyed throughout this discussion was the way in which Dr. Umar held these men accountable, how he talked about the way in which they need to man up, essentially. For me as a Black woman, it's very hard to come off as soft. If you know what I mean, I'm basically saying that as a Black woman, we're always kind of had this pressure on us to be independent, to do things on our own. And after watching this podcast, it has shown me why that is the way that it is. And it's because Black women were masculinized because of Black men. I'm gonna go a little bit deeper in that later. But for now, I'm gonna talk about Black men raising Black boys and what that takes in order to form the community that we need to have to stay strong and to unite. One of the main things that Dr. Umar was talking about within this whole podcast was saying the root of the issue is the way in which the Black men treat Black boys in the Black community. Because you guys want to talk about how Black women are dating outside their race, even though Black men are known for being the highest percentage of men that date outside of their race. Anyways, we are not raising these Black boys into the Black men that we need them / want them to be. Therefore, we're letting social media raise them, the rappers, the gangsters, you know, the NBA players. That is what he was saying, because the men in the community now don't want to take the work, and even if it's not your kid, you're still complaining about the way that Black boys are acting, yet you were the ones to abandon them in the first place.
And but she needs
If
to
we
be
was
more
loving
selective.
our women and taking care of our women, do you think she would be like that? That personality has a history.
If she's picking Pookie and Ray Ray instead of
You're making her a scapegoat.
No, she's picking a scapegoat.
No.
There's good
Can I ask you a
quality men
question?
that they ignore.
Why she even got it? Why is there even a Pookie in the selection?
You gotta ask her that.
No. I'm gonna tell you why there's a Pookie in the selection.
Why?
Because Black men have abandoned Black boys and have allowed social media, white media, athletes, and rappers to raise them. That's why she with Pookie. If we never allowed Pookie to develop, she would not have a Pookie. If we're going to be men, the first thing we got to do is take responsibility for why our women feel the way they feel.
I'm all over the place. Every single point that Dr. Umar said, it all connects in the same way. And yes, I don't necessarily agree with his points on interracial dating. I am very pro-Black, but the points you were making were very true. Like I said, I don't agree with him on everything, because who am I to say like I won't find my soulmate in someone of color or a white person? I'm not one to judge, but after being in a relationship with a white man, yeah, the shit that Dr. Umar was saying, I think it was just very important to talk about why Black women have been masculinized because of Black men not being there to raise those children. Dr. Umar made a point saying that Black women have been raising 2/3 of the children for over 50 years alone as single mothers. Yet these are the same Black boys that will stand up when they're older and say they don't like Black women. Yet your mother is a Black woman. Yet your grandmother is a Black woman. Your sister's a Black woman. Yet y'all are talking so much shit about Black women. Make it make sense.
I'm telling you, Black men are responsible for her being masculine because we have not helped her raise them children.
I am
and
not.
when I say help them raise them children, I don't mean you as the stepdad.
No, yeah,
I mean you as an active member in the community where we go to every single parent Black mother and say, how many sons you got? 2? How many sons you got? 2? Well, guess what? That's your son's big brother. That's your son's big brother. He taking them to school. He doing the homework. He gonna spend a couple hours with him every Saturday. He got his own kids too, but he gonna make time for you. She got masculine because she had to become masculine in order to deal with the rape, the abuse, the domestic violence, the disappointments that men had in her life, and also raising those kids and have to take care of herself all at the same time. The Black woman has been the be-all, in-all in our community for half of a century, and now we want to turn around and say because she didn't do it perfectly enough or remain feminine enough when she had to absorb our responsibilities plus her own, that's insensitive and disingenuous.
I think also like another point to tie tie in with that is these black men on these podcasts were trying to make black women a scapegoat by saying that they were choosing the wrong partners and they had a choice in who they chose as a partner. But Dr. Umar kept reiterating the fact, if y'all were there to raise these black boys into the black men that you wanted them to be, then the black woman would not have a poor selection on who she chose as a mate. I'm gonna let that one sink in. If black men were raising black boys into the men that they needed to be, then this whole blame on black women not dating their race wouldn't even be an argument. But for so long, black women have been treated, like Dr. Umar said, the scapegoat in all these situations. We have to raise the kids. We have to hold on our own responsibilities. We have to, like I said, raise the kids, but also raise the sons. And not a lot of mothers know how to do that, which is why it is important for the black men to be there for their kids. Like, I love my dad. I don't know about y'all.
Are not raising black boys to be the men our community needs. That is 100% our fault. What I'm saying is she got a right to be angry with us. She got a right to be angry with us.
I understand
we have not been on our job as black men. If the men are the providers, what have we been providing for our community? I'm not speaking you individually.
Yes.
Because you may be a damn good father. You may be a damn good father. You may be a damn good father. But guess what? What are we doing for the community? What are we doing for the children who don't have a father?
Another really interesting point when it came to his argument was when he was talking about how we are content with the things that we have. We are comfortable in our own oppression because we have gotten things like different laws here and there. Here and there. I will continue to say it. The black woman is the most disrespected person in the world. That may not be what Malcolm X said. I think it's in the US, but mine is in the world. Not only are we black, but we're women at that. And that's looked down upon too. The frustrations of being a black woman, being called hyper-masculine and independent. Why do you think we had to become independent? Why do you think that we had to become masculine in the first place? Because as black women, we were never allowed to be soft, which is the crazy part. Black men blame black women for not having femininity, yet they weren't there to give us that femininity in the first place. Not that we need the femininity from the black man, but I'm saying the chance to be able to be soft. We have had to put on this front since the beginning, and yet we're still getting blamed for it. We're still getting blamed by the same people who don't even date inside their race. I have seen more black men date white women than I ever choose a black woman. That shit's sad. That shit is fucking sad. Like like the argument I just don't understand, because it's how are y'all gonna be the ones to talk the most shit about black women but then be surprised when they don't want to date you? Because over any day you would choose the white women over us. And that's another YouTube video coming soon. No, but I do definitely want to film a YouTube video talking about white women tears and how dangerous they are, and just go into the history of situations that have happened because of a white woman and how it has ruined the life of a black man or someone within the black community because of what they were saying wasn't true and they just wanted all the attention on them. White women tears are very fucking dangerous. But these are the same women y'all are going after and having kids with. I know my opinions can seem like fuck white people, but like to me it's just there needs to be more awareness within the black community, and especially if you consider yourself a biracial person but you claim that you're a black person, I need you to stick up for us more. I need it. There is so much colorism within the black community. Why do we hate each other so fucking much? This is what the white man wants. We are not supposed to be hating on each other. We are supposed to be banding together, uniting, and growing as a fucking community instead of tearing each other down. Because that is exactly what white supremacy lives off of and feeds off of. If black people really understood the power in which they hold and stopped spending all their money on alcohol, strip club, Air Jordans, the stats he was going through, I was, what the fuck? $2 billion on Jordans a year, $4 billion on alcohol.
But the problem with black folks, we are comfortable and content being American slaves. We're not looking at the global ramifications of our irresponsible behavior. Mm-hmm. We're not looking at the global needs of our people. We are content with this America the way that it is. We are comfortable being treated like 21st century slaves. Because if we were not, with the resources we waste every day, we would be going crazy. Go down your social media feed. Does it look like Black America's in a crisis? Go down your YouTube. Does it look like Black America's in a crisis? Right. Go through your Twitter.
True.
Go in. If you did not know how racist America was, and you went to black Twitter, black Instagram, black TikTok, black
Nothing
YouTube,
important there.
could you tell?
No.
Don't it look like we live in the best times of our lives?
Absolutely.
Because black people are like overgrown children. Slavery arrested our psychopolitical development. Slavery arrested our psychopolitical development. The slave system turned us into eternal children in this country. What do children do? They spend their money on the things that they like.
Right.
And they beg their parents for the things that they need. Is that not black America? $2 billion on Air Jordans every year.
You're right.
$4 billion on liquor, $30 billion on hair and beauty, nearly $1 billion on chicken, turkey, beef, and pork, multiple billion on video games, multiple million on children's cologne. We spend about $21 million on children's cologne a year. But half the black boys in America in 4th grade can't read on their grade level.
That's a fact.
Half the black boys in America in 8th grade can't read on their grade level. But we spending $21 million on cologne.
Hi, this is Editing Reese. A point that I wanted to put in was something that I forgot to say. So Kanye West made a song called All Falls Down with Selena Johnson. And there's like a specific paragraph or chorus in the song that I want to talk about just because of how it relates to this video. So it's about 2 minutes into the song. And first he's talking about buying the 40 acres and stuff like that. The words/lyrics that I really want to focus on is when he says, I say fuck the police, that's how I treat them. We buy our way out of jail, but we can't buy freedom. We buy a lot of clothes, but we don't really need them. Things we buy to cover up what's inside, because they made us hate ourselves and love their wealth. That's why Shorty's hollering, where the ballers at? Drug dealer, buy Jordans. Crackhead, buy crack. And a white man get paid off of all that. So that was like, relating to the point, because we will sit here and spend so much money on shit that we don't fucking need, but we'll sit here and complain that we have no advancements as a community. Make it make sense. As a community, if we sit here and keep complaining and not doing anything about it, nothing is going to get done. Because the thing that I like with Dr. Umar is that he is a very hands-on person. If you do not get in the community, if you are not an active member of your community, how is anything supposed to change? And that is just what I feel is going on within the black community in America, which is why I don't want to live here anymore. It is just sad to see the way in which we tear each other down, but we're so trauma bonded. Because as much as the black community talks about how much culture we have, all of this other stuff, we are not a community. We are not a community if we have to literally label every single person within our community as biracial or African or Black American or this or that. We're black. If you have melanin in your skin and you come from a black woman or you come from a black parent and you identify with black, then you're black. But that's what I'm saying. Like, our community is so confusing. Like, don't get me wrong, I love being a black person, but our community is so fucking confusing. It's like you tear down the black woman, but you get mad at her for going to someone who treats her better. And that's the one thing that I didn't agree with Dr. Umar is, yes, I understand if you are black and you get with a white person, why are you laying down with someone whose ancestors used to rape, molest, and do all these horrific things to you? Don't blame the black woman for seeking out someone else because you guys have shown her that you don't want her. I also just want to talk about the government and how they also play a role in this, because what has the Democratic Party done for the black community within the last 100 years that they have been in power or been the majority vote for black people? What have they done? The Democratic Party just claims that they do stuff for black people just so they can get our vote, because they know at least Republicans are fucking honest and will say shit right out their fucking mouth. Democrats, in a way, are very sly with the shit that they do, even though they're all on the same fucking team. It's just very frustrating to think that we keep putting these people into power who act like they have any interest in advancing the black community, yet they're funded by all of these fucking big ass banks or big corporations with a lot of fucking money who can put their own agenda on them, and then they no longer are saying that they're fighting for what we actually voted them in for. Make it make sense. One of the last points I really want to talk about is how I found this podcast in the first place, why I wanted to make a YouTube video about this. One, I found the podcast on TikTok, but the reason why I wanted to make this is just because of the way in which black women have been seen as a scapegoat. It's been nice to hear someone finally hold someone accountable for the people who are calling them the scapegoats in the first place. Because black men are the same person who are getting mad at black women for choosing bad partners, especially when it comes to the black community. And the reference he was referencing a lot of Pookie and Ray Ray. Pookie and Ray Ray wouldn't be an option if the black men did what they needed to do and raise their fucking children. And that's another point that I want to bring up. They were talking about how she can have a child whether she wants to or not, but Dr. Umar said, you're the one to plant it in her in the first place.
Women bring the choice of life, right? We understand that, right? I can't have a child unless a woman agrees.
And she can't carry one if you didn't put it in her.
I agree with that 100% too, right? But whether or not, if you want that child or not, she can still make that decision. It's only up to her.
If you don't put a seed in her, nothing else happens. And no woman can make you put a seed in her. So the original act was the responsibility of a man.
True. I mean,
it doesn't matter if she wanted to keep it or not. You were the one to plant it in her in the first place if y'all never did that. Like, what are we doing? Why are y'all going around having unprotected sex, acting like that's not how life gets fucking brought into this world? And then you want to be an absent father. Then you want to blame the black mother for having that child in the first place, and then still not be there for your kid. Then wonder why they're not doing good in school, gang banging, all this other stuff, because they don't have a father figure, because these black mothers have been not only doing the responsibilities of themselves, but of the father as well, and then raising the child at that. So do you not think we're tired? Do you not think that, yes, some things are not gonna happen the way that they should, because we can't do everything. We can't. Black women are human. Much as y'all don't want to believe it, black women are human. We can't do everything. As much as y'all want to put the responsibility on us, it's not all of our fucking responsibility. That's the part that gets me tired. It's also just interesting, whoever the modern founder of feminism is, whatever the fuck her name is, she was paid by the CIA. Yeah. The CIA brought feminism into the white community to take white women out the house and into the black house and have it turn the black woman on the black man.
In a video of yours where you said that feminism has conditioned black women to view black men as the enemy.
It has. Feminism was financed by the CIA. Gloria, what was her name? Gloria Steinem, I think she was.
Right, yeah.
Mother of modern feminism, because traditional feminism goes back to the 1800s, right? With Susan B. Anthony and those white supremacists. But Gloria Steinem was a CIA agent. They financed her. Her first feminist magazine they paid for. The CIA brought feminism into the white household to get the woman out the house, and into the black household to turn the black woman against the black man. To scapegoat us for problems caused for her by white supremacy.
And yes, I am very much saying systematic oppression is a very real fucking thing. Mass incarceration is a very real thing. The crack epidemic, which is why so many people of our generation and a little bit older than us are the way that they are, and why the black community is the way that it is. Because we've had systems set up against us for so many years. So many years. And even till this day, even though nobody wants to acknowledge it. But what I'm trying to say is that these programs that were set into place definitely have a role on what is going on within the black community, but it's also the black community's fucking responsibility to stop playing the damn victim and get the fuck up and do something about it. Be more active in the community. We need to be more of a community. We need to stop separating African people and black people and light skins and this and that. That's not going to help us unite. So I think that's all I really have to say for now, just because I could go on for hours about this. It's a very touchy subject, and I'm one to always talk about them, so. But I do think that it is very important for us to really ask ourselves as members of the black community, what are we doing to band together, to unite together, instead of continue playing this victim mindset of, oh, white supremacy, oh, slavery, did it. Okay, so let's start doing some shit. Let's start getting some more rights. Let's start getting laws passed for us, like an anti-lynching law. How about that? I know not all the responsibility is on black people, and yes, white people play a very big part in this, but also black people, stop acting like we ain't smart. Stop acting like we haven't figured shit out before, because a lot of the trauma that we have is generational, which means that they have figured it out before. So that means we can figure it out now. I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I'll see y'all in my next one. Bye, y'all.